A man who murdered his former friend following a row over a necklace has been sentenced to life with a minimum term of 20 years in jail. Tarik Al-Mitheab stabbed 28-year-old Mahmoud Alabdullah to death in Bordesley Green shortly after 1:30 in the morning on Sunday, November the 5th last year. The 22-year-old fled the scene and then went to McDonald's, and later that morning he also went to Greg's, got some scran before handing himself in to the police station. Al-Mitheab lied by claiming he had disarmed Mr. Al-Abdullah of his knife and only acted in self-defense, but following a trial he was found guilty of murder. He was sentenced at Birmingham Crown Court earlier today. Al-Mitheab, who was from Syria, arrived in the UK on the 23rd of March 2021 on a small boat and was confronted by a border force, and he made an application for asylum and was granted leave to remain in the country. The court was told he had given several dates of birth, but the most common was March the 22nd, the prior date to his arrival in 2002. Mr. Abdullah was also from Syria, and his uncle stated his parents had made great sacrifices for him to escape the country, adding they were devastated by his death. By the summer of last year, Al-Mitheab was living at a house in multiple occupation in Bordesley Green, where he met and became friends with Mr. Al-Abdullah. But in July, they rowed over a necklace the defendant was wearing, which Mr. Al-Abdullah wanted. Judge Francis Laird KC concluded in the course of the quarrel, Mahmoud Al-Abdullah assaulted you and threatened you with a knife. It is likely that he also insulted you and your family. Despite attempts by a mutual friend to reconcile the two of you, that never happened and the animosity continued. Several months later, in the early hours of Sunday, November the 5th, Al-Abdullah drove to the address to pick up another friend with plans to go out and eat. As he travelled along the road nearby, he passed Al-Mitheab, who was in the rear passenger seat in a BMW, which began to follow Mr. Al-Abdullah's car. When he arrived in Bordesley Green, the defendant confronted him, and the judge Laird said, "I'm satisfied. As you approached his car, you were armed with a knife. You spoke briefly to Mahmoud Al-Abdullah. Through the driver's window as he tried to get out, you attacked him. In the struggle that lasted a very short time, you stabbed him 3 times. You left the scene in the same car which you arrived in, and as you left, Mahmoud Al-Abdullah was lying injured in the road. A passing motorist came across the victim, who was now slumped in his car, having got up from the road but barely conscious. Paramedics attended and attempted life-saving treatment, but Mr. Al-Abdullah died at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital later that morning. I just want to say rest in peace. My condolences go out to your family." Meanwhile, Al-Mitheab got another friend to pick him up, and they went to Mackey's on the Coventry Road together, and then they stayed the night somewhere where he washed his clothes he had been wearing. Later that morning, Al-Mitheab then went to Greg's before he handed himself in to a police station on Thornhill Road in Handsworth. Judge Laird concluded that at no stage was the defendant acting in self-defense, but he added he could not be sure he had intended to kill his former friend, therefore sentenced him on the basis he had intended really serious harm. His defense said, "Through me, he has asked to pass on his profound remorse and apologies to the victim's family. This is not the outcome he ever intended or desired. Whilst in prison, he has sought counselling, he is committed to making amends and is seeking redemption for the callous crime that he has committed." Once again, I just want to say rest in peace to the victim, and my condolences go out to your family. And in this next news story, a drug dealer who hid with his drugs and weapon stash in an unsuspecting family's playhouse in an attempt to escape from police. Bungling dealer Evan Sutton hid a member of the Public Gardens house with £13,000 of drugs, a machete, a zombie knife, as he left Midlands Police officers on a chase through the streets of Stourbridge. Evan Sutton was in a stolen vehicle on Cologne plates when officers spotted him in July 2023. Sutton, who was already banned from driving, drove off and officers pursued him before he abandoned the stolen car on a member of the public's driveway. He then fled on foot and attempted to hide by running into a nearby garden, where he hid in a family's playhouse. Sniffer dogs quickly found Sutton, who was discovered with thousands of pounds worth of coke and cannabis as well as knives. Police told of how when Sutton was discovered, he ran off and was bitten by a police dog, but managed to get away before being caught minutes later following a garden chase. Following a search of the vehicle and the playhouse, officers found quantities of cocaine, cannabis totaling up to £13,000, a machete, and a zombie knife. Sutton also had in his immediate possession a knife and a stun gun designed to look like a torch, and officers also recovered 2 mobile phones and the original number plates of the vehicle. Evan Sutton was sentenced to more than 4 years in prison at Wolverhampton Crown Court, and Sutton pleaded guilty in September 2023 to possession with intent to supply Class A and Class B drugs, 2 counts of possession of a knife, blade in a public place, possession of a weapon from the discharge of an electrical charge, dangerous driving, and driving whilst disqualified. He was given 45 months for possessing Class A drugs with intent to supply, 9 months for possession with intent to supply cannabis, 3 months for possessing 2 bladed articles, and 9 months for possessing a prohibited weapon. He also received 9 months for driving whilst banned, and Sutton was further banned from driving for 2 years and 3 months, and all the sentences will run concurrently. And in this next news story, coming from Essex Ways, and it's another story involving a stabbing. When's this knife crime going to end in the UK? So 2 men have been jailed for 6 years and 9 months each after admitting to stabbing a 16-year-old boy in Colchester. Kaya Adu, who's 19, and Rushi Jadeja, who's 21, got into an argument in a Pepe's chicken shop in January and knifed the boy multiple times. The victim escaped into the street and was taken to hospital, and he was given life-saving treatment. He is now believed to have made a full recovery. Chelmsford Crown Court heard that CCTV footage captured Adu and Jadeja as responsible for the assault. They were arrested on the 13th of January and originally charged with attempted murder. Adu was also charged with possession of an offensive weapon in a public place. However, following a hearing at Chelmsford Crown Court, both men entered guilty pleas to GBH with intent, which was accepted by the judge. They were both jailed for 6 years and 9 months, and Adu was ordered to spend an additional 3 years in licence. Detective Chief Inspector Greg Wood from the Essex and Kent Serious Crime Directorate said Adu and Jadeja escalated a verbal altercation into a serious assault which almost cost a 16-year-old boy his life. The victim has had to have multiple surgeries following this assault, but thankfully he has since made a full recovery. He said, "I hope that he can put this horrendous assault behind him following this sentence." He said, "This sentence concludes a thorough investigation by our Serious Crime Directorate, and I commend the officers who have worked hard to secure this justice." So guys, there's a number of stories coming out from the streets of the UK. Absolute madness. Once again, if you already haven't done so, please subscribe to the channel and please give this video a little like. It's your boy JC. Keep it locked, keep it real.